Welcome to the 6th episode of Season 1 of the Metallica Re-Remastered series. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the 6th song of the first Metallica album, Kill 'Em All, Whiplash. Written by James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich, Whiplash is the 6th song on Kill 'Em All and the last song on Side 1. It was the first of two singles released off Kill 'Em All, the second being Jump in the Fire. It came with the same two B-sides as Jump in the Fire, the fake live versions of Seek and Destroy and Phantom Lord, which were just two studio alternate versions given fake audience track to sound like they were live. And it came with the special neck brace remix version of Whiplash, which is not a remix at all. It's just a standalone version of the song that was not merged with the end of Anesthesia Pulling Teeth as on Kill 'Em All. And it came with Jump in the Fire. Released in multiple versions, including a 12-inch maxi single, a 12-inch EP, and two 7-inch 45s. The later released cassette version would also include Anesthesia Pulling Teeth, and thus dropping the special neck brace remix title from the track listing. We got a lot of ground to cover here today, folks. Let's get started. And let's head back into the library. Song 0106 is Whiplash. And as you can see, in addition to the remastered track and the bass enhanced remastered track, we also have a Cliff Burton bass track as well, which is going to make this one a fun one. So if you saw the Hit the Lights video, I explained how YouTube compression basically reduces the size of all videos by fractions of a microsecond, and it affected the Metallica isolated tracks as they've been on there for 11 years. And what it did to the bass tracks, the drums, the vocals, the guitar, is it made them shorter and longer in time, but not in pitch. So the pitch hasn't gone up or down. To combat that, I split the songs into many pieces, and here we have Whiplash, just to show you what I'm talking about here. It was not as bad as Hit the Lights. It was only 94 splits across 4 minutes and 7 seconds, which is approximately one split every 2.56 seconds. And now, our moment of guitar architecture. I almost said that Whiplash has both rhythm guitars playing from start to finish without rest. I would have been wrong because of this section right here. That is the rhythm guitar on the left playing 16th notes, while the drums and bass play the dotted eighth pattern. The guitar on the right channel is at rest, making this a traditional Metallica song, and that the guitar on the left channel, representing the James Hetfield rhythm guitar, is the one leading the charge. Let's check it out. And as you can hear, rhythm guitar left, bass and drums playing together, while rhythm guitar right lays low for the big explosion. Excellent. And before we dive into all the Cliff Burton-y goodness on this bass track, it's worth noting that listening to Metallica as a kid and as an adult, and 30 plus years as a Metallica fan, I never knew until I heard the isolated bass track for Whiplash that Cliff was actually doubling the tom pattern at the beginning of the song. After the introduction, when James does that long whole note that rings out on both rhythm guitars, I thought that's what Cliff did. Turns out Cliff was doubling the drums, and I listened to it without the bass track, and I have to squeeze the headphones against my head, and I still can't hear Cliff doing that. And if you notice, I have the unaltered remaster at 1 decibel lower than the enhanced bass track, and that reason really is twofold. One, it allows me to keep the bass low on the songs that have bass tracks. And two, when you get to the next song, which is Phantom Lord, which not only has no bass track, but the lowest bass mix of any of the songs on the album, you won't miss the bass that you grew accustomed to hearing on Whiplash. So at the beginning of the song, the band does 1, 2, 3, 4. And they do it 4 times. Well, on the second, third, and fourth time, Cliff does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm not sure if it's because the recording had just started and he was finding his footing, if he couldn't quite hear in the headphones, if it was nerves from being in the studio, or if he was just trying to get in one extra note. But for whatever reason, he plays quintuplets over the band's 4 16th notes, and it sounds like this. But when paired with the band, it sounds perfectly in time. And now that tom section mentioned before, and as you can hear, Cliff is not ringing out alongside those two rhythm guitars on the left and right channel on the high E5th and G5th chords. He's playing along with the toms. And now both guitars are playing the E5th chord together as Cliff continues to deliver on the dotted eighth notes. In this next section I give it a boost because he pivots. Now he's playing that same pattern on the open E against James's 16th notes in the left channel. And then, just after this drum roll, you'll hear both guitars are now now playing the 16th notes as the continues with the dotted 8th notes. And this is a pattern you're going to see again and again as we do deep dives on these bass lines. He does this in the Coda of No Remorse, in Metal Militia, in Fight Fire with Fire, in Battery, and in Damage Incorporated. And I'm pretty sure he does this because James and Kirk pick so fast, and as a two-fingered bass player, this is his move. Ping-ponging between the drums and the rhythm guitars with this thuggish groove. It's a brilliant move. So from the beginning, the default volume is -2, and I gave that a boost at the tom section to -1 decibel boost. And the pivot from high E to low E on the bass part, I gave it a 2 decibel boost because it was a pretty pivotal moment, pardon the pun. And then back to the default volume for the verses. Now, in order to keep the dotted 8th notes audible amongst those 16th notes from both rhythm guitars on the left and right channel at full volume and full distortion, I employed a different trick. I lowered the volume of the choruses, and it's because it's the loudest part of the bass track. His A, B, and C on the A string are super loud. They cut through super nice. You can hear it without the isolated bass track on the album. Plenty loud. I lowered it to -3. I did that for all the choruses on the song. The only other thing I really did was at the guitar solo going into it in that little breakdown. He does an octave the first of the 4 times. The second, third, and fourth time he plays it like the band plays it. I'll show you. And now back to how the band plays it. Right? And then in the solo itself, he does a lot of octaves that I felt did not cut through the way they should, so I gave them each their own little 1 decibel boost. And again, not meant to be overly loud, just meant to be present. Present in the mix was the goal. And then back to the default volume for this, and then the chorus. And while we're here, let's talk about the chorus. He gets 1 extra note in because he's Cliff. The band goes bum ba da bum ba da bum ba da bum, and he goes bum ba da bum ba da bum ba da bum. But that's what Cliff does. He gets that extra note in there. And that's all she wrote. All right. And now it's time for the In-Album Lifeline segment, brought to you as always by Fresh Produce. No, not the brand, the concept. Eat your fruits and veggies. In this segment, I always ask the question, if the song I'm working on doesn't have an isolated bass track, would I trade it for one that does? And if the song I'm working on does have an isolated bass track, would I trade it for one that does not? Well, in the case of Whiplash being only one of 3 songs of 10 that has an isolated bass track, and the other 7 songs not having an isolated bass track, and Whiplash itself having that section in the beginning that I didn't know was there until about 2 years ago, I would say I would not trade Whiplash's isolated bass track for any bass track on the album, not even Seek and Destroy's. Episode 6, Whiplash, is done. Whiplash Re-Remastered is next, followed by Episode 7 for Phantom Lord. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. This is the Metallica Re-Remastered series. Stay tuned for more. If you wish to support the series, please check out the link in the description down below. Thank you. And basically, it's pivotal, and you can't hear it. Thanks for honking, asshole. 33 EP, as well as a 7-inch... Are you f***ing kidding me? Construction. Gotta love it.